Hello, tribal people. It is 5:39 p.m. I am on my way to a large public area known as a park where baseball shall be played, not by me, but by others whom I shall observe. It's Monday Fun Day, Squid and the Bear. You may have noticed we've missed a few weeks. It's been busy around here, and it's been busy at work. Mrs. Squid is very pregnant, and I've been busy up in Oklahoma and with my family coming in from New York. So all around, lots of busyness. But we will get back to the Monday shenanigans. In fact, one of the younger squids was very much so looking forward to today being Monday Fun Day with Squid and the Bear. In fact, he said to Squid, "Today's Monday, that means Mr. TJ's coming over for Monday Fun Day." But alas, there were other things to do. So, just bear with us. We're working on it. We've experienced exponential growth as a channel, and we're trying to keep up. You know, not that we have a lot of people, but for us, we have a lot of people. Not that long ago, I did a video called Yay, 27 subscribers. So, yeah. We have a handful more than 27 now. And I thank the Father for that. I really do. So, I'm glad that I'm getting to go watch a baseball game. Not that baseball is my sport, but the young man whom I'm going to watch, it is his sport. And I like seeing people do what God gave them a gift to do. So, I've had a heaviness on me the last couple of days, honestly, since Sunday afternoon, yesterday afternoon. So, you know, a little over 24 hours. Just like a weight bearing down on top of me, and been praying on it. And I know I've been talking with a few of y'all who've been praying for me as well, and I appreciate that. I do not take that for granted one bit. I am honestly very deeply appreciative, and I never lose sight of the fact that spiritual warfare is a real thing. It is a very real thing. I'm going to use that as a segue to tell you all about this. I have lots of tattoos. Lots of them. But up on this arm, my right arm, is a demon. And up on this arm is an angel. Number one, I am very much so intrigued by the duality of man. What do I mean by that? I think a lot of us, you know, we can argue nature, nurture, all of that. I'm rushing, right? Oh, I need to get this message out. I'm going to slow down. We can argue nature and nurture. But I think there's a third thing, and that's the choices that we make. And yes, those choices are affected by our nature and by our nurture, but I think that, hear me out on this, I think that Adolf Hitler had the capacity to do good and didn't. And I think Mother Teresa had the capacity to do evil and didn't. Does that make sense? So, that's the duality of man, right? The free will that we are given. And a lot of people argue, you know, determinism. There is no free will. You're just a product of your environment and your genes and the way that you were raised and blah, 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 blah. To which, you know, and people say, well, why would the Father give us free will? Excuse the analogy, but what is more, those of us that have children, what is more rewarding? When you scream at your children to go clean their room, and then they dutifully go and clean their room like little robots, obeying your every command under threat of severe punishment, or when they clean their room on their own because they know that that brings a smile to your face. When they exercise free will to do the work that you've asked them to do without having to threaten them to do it, right? Yeah, I get it. I'm kind of ranting here. But the duality of man has always intrigued me, and I'm kind of a living study in it. But spiritual warfare, I have a demon and an angel tattooed on me. And I know, Leviticus, make no marks upon your body. I was not into Leviticus at the time that I did this. So, I don't know. Sister Kate said something in a recent video she did on MGTOW that brought me a lot of comfort. And she was not talking to me, but hearing her say it brought me a lot of comfort. That the Eastern way, the Hebrew way, is to do and learn by doing, whereas the Western way is to learn first and then go do. How many times have I told you on this channel, go forth and do, and then figure it out from the doing? Do you know how comforting that was for me to hear? Because nobody's ever said that to me before, and I'm kind of out here. Man, I'm surrounded by this North Texas decadence 4 days a week, and it's mind-numbing. It's mind-numbing, the end-stage decadence and the obliviousness that I'm surrounded by, and the modern Christianity box checkers that just nails on a chalkboard to me. Well, I wore something nice to church on Sunday. I'm good for the week. Yeah, okay. Right? So nobody has ever explained this stuff to me. And by this stuff, I mean Torah adherence, worshiping Yah through your actions, not just with your mouth. This is all stuff that's been laid on my heart to do, but the only instruction I've ever had on it has been, truthfully, YouTube videos. And I'm doing my best to keep God's commandments, keep Yah's commandments through my own research. And what does that look like, right? But I'm not surrounded by a tribe of Israelites. I'm a tribe of one, right? While I'm in Texas, and I'm a tribe of 5 while I'm in Oklahoma. And I'm leading that tribe in Oklahoma. So I don't really know what to do other than to read the word and do what the word says to the best of my broken ability. And then get gentles and reminders from people whom I love and respect saying, good try, but you messed that up. You should do it this way. Roger that. I am not infallible. I'm very, very, very fallible. So, but it was very comforting to hear Sister Kate say that because that's my jam, bro. That's what I do is I'll go get my hands dirty and figure it out in the process of doing rather than backtracking, doing all of the knowledge building first without making any experiential expertise, right? Which you guys know I'm big on, right? So I said all that, right? We're talking about spiritual warfare and these 2 tattoos that I have. I am bird walking like you wouldn't believe. Spiritual warfare is real. And a lot of people lose sight of that. I was in a metal band, a satanic metal band, for a good while. Many, many, many years. And I did a lot of stuff that I should not have done. And we can, one day we will go there. T will have a couple adult beverages and sit next to the fire, and we'll just record some crazy stories about some crazy things. But are you ready? Demons are real, and they will jack you up, dude. Jack you up. I have Polaroid pictures of handprints twice the size of a man's bruised into my body, around my neck and on my thigh, and I was being pushed into a couch, being choked out. I saw the couch cushion going past my face like this in my field of vision. And then I was having a terrible day, the kind of day where we'll just say that I was well acquainted with the taste of a gun barrel that kind of day, okay? And I had just nothing that I could immediately came to mind as to why I should keep this flesh and blood here on earth. And I remember it was pouring rain, early spring in upstate New York. So it's like 33, 34 degrees, pouring rain. And I was in an argument with the girl that I was with at the time, who was also a drug addict. And I went storming out of the house. And there was a long deck. And by long, I mean 50, 60 yards long, that went down to a parking area where my truck was at. And I was soaking wet by the time, 3 steps out that door, I was soaking wet. Cold rain. And I remember the feeling of my clothes being completely soaked through. And I walked into that little parking area. I stepped off the deck and walked into that little parking area. And I saw a little tiny white light. I'm surrounded by mature hardwood trees, 24, 30 inches in diameter everywhere. Gorgeous house in the middle of nowhere. And I see this it's pouring rain, it's night. There's this little white light flowing in and out amongst the trees. And that white light came about 15 yards from me in that parking lot area where my truck was at, and boom, blew up. And it says in the Bible that God's face is so brilliant that you can't look upon it. Well, let me tell you something. His angels are beautiful. They're so bright you can't look upon them. It's the only time in my entire life that I've ever seen anything, any metaphysical, spiritual being that was not negative, that was clearly positive. And it was a female. She had a bright flaming sword, and it was trailing behind her. And I remember her standing there. She was like 12 foot tall, brilliant and warm. I couldn't look at her. Every time I would look at her, I'd have to turn my face away. And tears of joy just started streaming down my face. And I was comforted. And I received a message that said, "Don't do this. God's watching you. He's got you." I was in a satanic metal band at the time. And this was the message that I got. And I crawled in, in a moment, she was gone. I got in my truck and I closed the door, and I wept. I wept tears of joy. And I called my mom, and I said, "Mom, you're not going to believe what I just saw." And my mom has obviously known me my whole life. And I have seen evil stuff my entire life. Since I was a little kid, I can recount dozens of times. And y'all are probably thinking, "You're crazy, T. You're just saying stuff to get hits and ratings." I could care less. If this channel goes back to 30, 40, 50 people that really want to be here, I've said it before, I suffer from special forces mentality. I'd rather have 4 quarters and 100 pennies any day of the week. So my mom knew I have seen stuff my entire life. And she started crying with me on the phone. It was the most amazing thing. And as I've said before, I was raised in the church, and I turned and did a 180 from the church at about 15 years old. So I had foundational knowledge about who God was and how he acted. But I was an apostate. I was at war with God. And while I was sitting there talking to my mom, I realized I was warm. And not a stitch of clothing on me was wet. I was bone dry. And it was pouring rain outside. And I'd been standing out in it for what felt like an hour. It was probably only moments. But I was soaked the moment I stepped outside. And it was the most incredible thing. Just to this day, the most incredible thing. And here's my eyes if you think I'm lying. And that's why I have an angel tattoo and a demon tattoo. And that's why I'm intrigued with the duality of man. Because spiritual warfare is a real thing. And I tell you that because I just want you to know I know a lot of people have not encountered it in their life. I have prayed demons out of people. Many people, including my own children, that I believe situationally God allowed to happen to make a point to an unbeliever right there in front of them, which is another story for another time. I have a good friend who's an international missionary who has, we have purged houses together. There's power in the name of Jesus, Yeshua HaMashiach. Just saying that name makes me feel better. So I've been fighting the heaviness all day, and I know you guys are praying for me, and I appreciate it. I'm going to turn this off before I start crying. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.